Have you ever seen a Chinese person working for someone who wasn't Chinese?
Yeah.
Okay.
Imagine this. You wake up in the morning and you're Tate. Open your eyes. Bitch here, the bitch here. Move them hoes out the way. You walk to the bathroom. You're 6'3", built like Hercules. Caramel. You check the bank, full of money. You pick up a $6,000 Armani shirt and you put it on. Why the fuck are you gonna button it up? You're Andrew motherfucking Tate. You ain't gonna button up shit. I'll walk into the fucking most premier establishment you can name with my shirt unbuttoned, so every bitch in there knows I cheat. That's what men need. They need to feel like all this work I'm putting in, all this shit I'm going through, I'm respected for it. As soon as a man feels like he has no respect, that's the absolute end of a man's interest or a man's tolerance of the situation. I think that's the reason it's happening. I know a lot of men who completely love their wives. They love them with all their heart. They die for her. But he's just not respected in his house. If we weaken men, then if they become weak enough, they'll no longer be a threat. And I argue that point absolutely. I think the most dangerous men on earth are the weak men. And if you look at men who have no emotional control, because that's what they're trying to teach us to have. They're saying, listen, you're a man, you're allowed to just cry all the time and have no emotional control, no stoicism, just react to your emotions. You know what happens when you tell men to just react to their emotions? Anger. You have school shootings.
Weak is not good. The people who shoot up the high schools, they're weak.
You have rape, you have violence. That's what happens when you tell men to have no emotional control.
And life is a very difficult process. You're not prepared for it unless you have the capacity to be dangerous. Those who have swords and know how to use them but keep them sheathed will inherit the world. You have to be powerful and formidable and then peaceful, in that order. And that's not the same as being naive and weak and harmless, which is what young men are being encouraged to be.
A lot of parents are very, very surprised by the success of their children. I'll see it, they go, he's one of the best in his class. And I'm like, so? He's one of the best, so he's not even the best, of a group of random 30 random average losers. He's not top 1% in the world at anything. And you're so proud of him, and you're gonna sit there and go, wow, great job, great job. And that's why he's never gonna become shit. I'd be embarrassed to have a child which wasn't top 1% in the country, let alone his shitty class. I'd be embarrassed to brag about the things you brag about. They're bare minimum acceptable standards. If I had a child and he wasn't one of the best in his class, getting an ass kicking. That's the bare minimum acceptable standard, and you're proud of it?
You take two people, one believes in ghosts and one doesn't. You put them both in haunted houses, and in the middle of the night there's a bang. The person who believes in ghosts is now terrified. There's a ghost, they're calling an exorcist, they're panicking in the room, they're hiding. The person who doesn't believe in ghosts goes wind and goes back to sleep. It's the same noise, it's the same scenario, but it's the belief that's in their mind that and ruins their life. It's the belief in their mind that turns against them. And I've said this many times. I don't even give a shit about right and wrong. I refuse to believe in things that take my power away from me. I'm only going to construct a mental model that allows me to be as powerful as possible. If believing in the idea of depression is going to take my own power away, then I won't believe in it. I don't want to believe in things that make me weak. My name is Abu Andrew now. I've decided that the West is finished. It's done, it's over. I've said it a million times, there's nothing we can do to save it. Christians are complete pussies. Christians ain't done shit. Guess who else is a Christian? Will Smith. Adultery is in the Bible. You're not allowed to be adulterous. It says in the Bible to put her ass to death. And you won't even question her. You won't even raise your voice. I am now officially a Muslim. Watching that video, because this is the first time I've watched it from start to finish. I've seen little clips on Twitter. I watched it from start to finish, and now I have ended up a Muslim. I'm a Muslim, and I hope you men at home are Muslim too. I'm gonna find myself a nice Islamic-ass wife. I'm gonna build up a big pile of rocks in case she gets fresh. I'm gonna be prepared, so I ain't gonna mess around. As soon as I catch her cheating, there's gonna be no delays. Inshallah.
I burst out crying to my dad. I don't know what to do. These two kids are picking on me, etc. My dad said, but you have a weapon. Why are you afraid of me? You have a weapon. I said, what weapon? And he pointed. He said, your lunchbox. Andrew. And I'd been in a daydream because I was scared about getting on the bus and playing home. And the teacher told me off for not paying attention to class. The teacher's yelling at me because I'm worried about these fuckers. And I started to really feel like crying. That was at the end of school. So when I got on the bus, I was already on the edge. And when one of them started grabbing at my thing from behind, I turned around with the lunchbox and I smashed him clean in the face. As soon as I hit him, I turned and I ran off the bus. When I went in the door, my dad was a professional chess player. So he was sitting there at the chessboard. And he turns around and he sees my smashed lunchbox. And he kind of smiled and he said, get in the car. And we went to Walmart and he said, do you want the same one or another one? And I said, I'll have the same one. And he gave it to me and he said, I'll buy you as many of these as you need. That's what he said to me. I said, thanks, Dad.
You think people who live like me have a job? You think I go to work and I do something and then money comes to my bank each month and then I go and no. You need to hack the matrix. It's who you know. Real money is made with conversations on WhatsApp, a few phone calls. You do this, do this. Move the money around, bang, everyone makes some money, boom, done. If you haven't got that kind of network, you're never gonna get rich. When's the last time someone called you and said, look, we're gonna make $1 million, let's do this? No one's ever called you like that.
What's your favorite sex position?
This doesn't feel like a godly conversation. You came here to talk about Christianity and God. Now you're talking about things which, I don't know if we can do that. Obviously, you know, no sex before marriage. I don't want to talk about this.
Or maybe you just shit.
You think so?
Yeah, that's something like a not confident, insecure man would say.
If you think that not wanting to sit on the internet talking about pussy in a particular way makes me insecure, then you can have that view of me if you so desire.
A really interesting show I watched a long time ago, and it was a documentary about colors. They found this tribe in Africa. They had different names for the colors than we have. And they got 2 different shades of blue, which were basically identical. And to them, they were completely different colors. But then they put like blue and yellow, and they couldn't tell the difference. Because the blue and the yellow had one name, and these 2 kinds of blues had a different name. And what they were trying to say is, if your brain is associated a name with something, it's very hard to work out the difference between the 2 things that have the same name. So I'm never unhappy. I'm happy always. If I'm not distraught, I'm happy. So I never wake up and go, I'm unhappy today. I wake up and go, oh, I'm a little bit less happy today, but I'm happy. I've labeled myself as happy. I've labeled myself as lucky. I'm labeled these things, and I truly believe them. I will pass any lie detector test today that I'm the most content, happy man in the world, because that's what I've decided. That's what I've labeled myself as. So how can it not be true?
I can't become clinically depressed.
Why do you know?
Because I don't believe in it. I can't be haunted by a ghost if I don't believe in ghosts.
Well, that's like saying I'm never going to die because I don't believe in it. It's ridiculous.
Perhaps. I believe feeling depressed is real. I do not believe it's a disease that you catch from the sky and you cannot affect. I believe that no matter what happens, I believe you have control of your own mind and you can fight against it. I believe if you change your circumstances in your life, you may feel different. I'll give you a quick example. I had a guy who emailed me saying he was clinically depressed and he was going to kill himself. I obviously am not a psychiatrist, I'm not a doctor. I said, have you been to a psychiatrist? He said, yes, I'm clinically depressed. I've been on these pills, this amount of time. I'm on antidepressants, it doesn't work. And he said he lost his girlfriend, that's why I became clinically depressed. I said, listen, go to the gym, get a 6-pack first. Once you've got a 6-pack, email me again. If you still feel like killing yourself, I don't know what else to say to you. I'd say, strong body is a strong mind, go train. He went, he started sending me progress pictures, emailing me him getting in better shape, and eventually got a 6-pack, he's now a professional bodybuilder. And he said, I can't believe I was considering that, I feel so much better, etc. The doctor was telling him he was clinically depressed and couldn't cure it. He started taking control of his own life, and now he felt better. Now, I'm not saying it's the case. I don't think the world has ever been equal. I'm not saying that women should completely and utterly be slaves. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that the modern society we live in has been built by men. All the roads you see, all the buildings you see, everything around you, men built. All of it. When women come along and say, oh, we're just as important, you are just as important, but you had a completely different role. You fulfilled a different role in society. And I think now, if you look at the roles of society, I believe men are still doing their job, but I don't know if women are doing their job. Women's job always was procreation, to look after the family and to look after the man. That's all that they had to do. And the man would go out there and risk his life and spend his time building the modern world. Men are still out here building the modern world. But when they come home now, the girl's like, oh, why should I cook for you? I think women are failing in their role. I think women are failing. When a black billionaire meets a white billionaire, do you think there's any racism? Do you think they care? He's a billionaire, I'm a billionaire. Both our yachts are in Monaco. He's from Algeria, he stole all the gold. I'm a stock market whatever. There's no racism. The racism's for the poor people. Because if you keep the poor people divided, they can't wake up long enough to do what I did and read about how money works. Because if they do that, we got big trouble, right? Then the slaves will wake up. You don't want to deprogram the slaves. So you have to convince the slaves that it's not the monetary system's fault that you're broke. It's not the monetary system's fault that you continue to work for a set number of dollars and the price of houses just keep going up and up and up. It's not the monetary system's fault. It's the white man's fault, or the black man's fault, or the Asian people's fault. Someone else's fault. I think all this stuff, feminism, racism, all these things, I think they're all control mechanisms. They have to keep the poor people fighting amongst each other, because if the poor people all unite, then it's much harder to control us.
I knew a girl who was exceptionally pretty. She was from Moldova. She married a prince in Dubai. I spoke to her. I said, how is it? She goes, oh, it's amazing. She sent me a picture of her with the tigers. I'm living with these tigers, and I get to stay in the house, and I drive his McLaren, and my life is great, and blah, we're gonna have kids soon, da-da-da-da. And I'd say, oh, like, so what's it? Is he there much? She's like, no, he's not here. He's always away working. He has royal duties, blah, blah, blah. I spoke to her again 6 months later. She goes, oh, I'm miserable. It turns out he wasn't working. He's sleeping with all these other girls. Anyway, the point is, then she started saying, I feel like I'm a prisoner. I can't go anywhere. So her perfect dream life, the same scenario changed based on her feelings for the man. It went from the perfect setup to a prison based on her personal feelings for the man. And this is why it's so dangerous to be a man nowadays. Because in my scenario, I can have a girl who works for me, who's in love with me and enjoy everything. And as soon as she finds out I don't want to be with her in a long-term way, then she can sit and say, he forced me, and they will change.
I went to a town called Cluj-Napoca. It's on the border of Hungary. And I drove there in my Chiron, and I parked up, and a kid came up, and he said, hey, can I take some photos of your car? I have a car spotting page. I was like, yeah, whatever, cool. So he took a bunch of photos, and he come up to me and goes, hey, do you want the photos? And I was like, not really, I've already had photos. And he goes, well, if you want them, here's my email address. And I said to him, why do you do this? You spend all day standing around taking photos of other people's cars. Is that not a waste of time? I thought it was a waste of time, but I was wrong. He goes, oh, well, I skipped school and I skipped college because I knew if I take pictures of expensive cars and email them to people, I'll have email addresses of the richest people in Romania. I was like, you're clever. He understood. Be near the money. I have no money. Money's over there. Well, let me get closer to it. No point staying over here on my fucking own. Let me at least get closer to it. That was a 17-year-old kid. I ended up hiring him. He works for me now. Now he's making 10 grand a month in Romania from me. What's a good wage in England? 100 grand a year?
100 grand, yeah.
100 grand a year, good wage, yeah? What's that, on 100 grand, what you paying, 40 or 50% tax?
Probably about 40%.
Okay, so let's say you're getting 60 grand a year. Let's imagine you're earning 100 grand a year. You're successful inside of the matrix. You're a successful slave. You make 60 grand a year. Let's imagine you can live for free, eat for free, you walk to work, you never buy clothes. Let's imagine you save 100% of your money, 60 grand each year. I don't want to do the math off the top of my head, but my Bugatti was 5.2. What is that? Is that like 90 years? That's a lifetime of slave work without spending a penny ever once. To by the time you're a fucking geriatric and can't function, you might be able to buy one of my 30 cars. If that does not tell you the matrix must be cracked and there's other ways to make money, then nothing fucking will. Nordic chicks. You know why as well? The Nordic chick's dad isn't even about it. They ain't no gangsters up there. You steal life savings from a Norwegian chick, she'll go tell her dad, what's he gonna do? Eat a herring? That's it. Oh, that's bad news. Oh. There's no gangsters in Norway. There's no gangsters up there. The only gangsters in Stockholm are Somalians. There ain't no, you can go up to Stockholm, you can run around Sweden and do whatever you want. You can walk into let me tell you something, you can walk into the club, get the best table, and take every single bit of pussy in the club, and not a single Swedish man's gonna say shit to you. I know, because I did it.